Instead of forcing them to become weak, Walker continued, I propose we help them become strong. Not by giving them everything at once, but by guiding them, teaching them, helping them develop their own unique contributions to our galactic community. The vote was unanimous. The new council would not repeat the mistakes of the old. They would not fear the strength of others or try to control it. Instead, they would help nurture it, guide it, and welcome the new perspectives it would bring. Later, in his private chamber, Walker looked out at the stars. A fleet of ships passed by his window, their hulls flowing and shifting with the latest adaptive technology, but now bearing the symbols of a dozen different species working together. Each ship was a testament to what could be achieved when diversity was celebrated rather than suppressed. Maria found him there, still watching the fleet. The first combined species research team made a breakthrough today, she said without preamble. They found a way to apply adaptive architecture at the molecular level, medical nanobots that can change their structure to fight any disease. The Republic had the basic technology for centuries, but they never thought to develop it further. Walker smiled, because they never understood the most important lesson. True strength doesn't come from forcing others to be weak. It comes from learning to adapt, to change, to grow stronger together. A new alert appeared on his display. One of the emerging civilizations had sent out its first faster-than-light probe. Soon, they would make contact with the wider galaxy. But unlike Earth's first contact, they wouldn't find an arrogant council demanding they weaken themselves. They would find a community ready to welcome them, to learn from them, to grow stronger together. The old council had tried to weaken humanity, seeing their drive and determination as a threat. Instead, they had forced humanity to become something new, not just a strong species, but one that understood the true meaning of strength. Now, as Walker watched the combined fleet move against the stars, he knew the galaxy would never be the same. The council had tried to weaken them. Instead, they had created something far more powerful than military might. They had created a future where strength came from unity, where innovation came from diversity, and where every species had the chance to reach its full potential. They had created a galaxy where adaptation and cooperation would always triumph over stagnation and control. As the last ships disappeared into faster-than-light travel, Walker thought about how far they had come. From a species forced to destroy its own fleet to the leaders of a new galactic age. The stars seemed brighter now, full of possibility rather than threat. The council had tried to weaken them, but they had become something greater than anyone could have imagined. They had become the guardians of a truly united galaxy. The new Galactic Council chamber looked nothing like the old one. Gone were the towering thrones that had placed the Republic's representatives above everyone else. Instead, a circular table dominated the room, with every seat at the same height. Captain Walker, newly promoted to Admiral, sat in Earth's seat, looking at the faces around him. Representatives from 17 formerly subjugated species, plus Trell, and a handful of other council members who had helped expose the Republic's true nature. The Liberation fleets have reached the outer colonies, a representative from the Meridian species reported. Their people had been among the first to embrace Earth's offer of help. The Republic's control systems are being dismantled. Their labor camps. The alien's voice trembled slightly. Our people are coming home. 3 months had passed since the battle in Earth's solar system. The Republic's defeat had broken their grip on power, and with it, their ability to maintain control over the species they had integrated over the centuries. Earth's adaptive fleet, now expanded and improved, had led the charge to free the subjugated worlds. Dr. Thompson's team has finished analyzing the Republic's central database, Walker announced to the chamber. The extent of their deception went deeper than we imagined. Every major technological advancement they claimed to have invented was actually stolen from species they conquered. They didn't innovate. They just took what others created and kept it for themselves. Maria stood from her seat next to him, activating a holographic display in the center of the table. But they didn't understand most of what they stole. They used it, but they never improved it, never adapted it. That's why our enhanced version of their shield technology worked so well against them. We didn't just copy it, we made it better. The chamber filled with murmurs as representatives studied the data. Thousands of years of technological theft, all designed to keep the Republic in power, while other species were forced to remain weak. But their strategy had finally failed when they encountered a species that turned restrictions into inspiration. The former Republic worlds have submitted their request for membership in the new council, Trell said, his voice steady now that he no longer had to fear reprisal. Under the new rules, of course. No special privileges. No hidden technology. Everything shared openly. Walker nodded. The remnants of the Republic had surrendered 2 weeks ago, after Earth's adaptive ships had demonstrated their ability to bypass even the oldest and strongest planetary defenses. The Republic's leaders had expected a revenge-fueled occupation. Instead, they found humanity offering something different, a chance to join a truly equal galactic community. Our next phase of development is ready, Maria said, changing the holographic display. We're calling it the Unity Project, combining Earth's adaptive architecture with technological innovations from all member species, not just for ships, but for everything. Buildings, tools, even medical technology. Everyone contributes, everyone benefits. The chamber erupted in excited discussion. Species that had been kept apart by the Republic's lies were now sharing ideas, offering their own unique perspectives on how to improve and adapt the technology. Walker watched with satisfaction as ancient barriers broke down, replaced by genuine cooperation. A small alert flashed on his display, a message from Admiral Stone back on Earth. The first class of the new Combined Fleet Academy was ready to begin training. Officers from every member species would learn to work together, sharing their knowledge and experience. Earth's adaptive ship technology would be the foundation, but every species would add their own innovations. There's one more item we need to discuss, Walker said, bringing the chamber to order. We've detected 3 emerging civilizations reaching for the stars. Under the old council, they would have been labeled as too aggressive and forced to weaken themselves. I suggest we take a different approach. He activated his own holographic display, showing 3 young species taking their first steps into space. Their ships were primitive by current standards, but their design showed innovation, creativity, and determination, just like humanity had shown before the old council arrived. All ships linked. Combat transformation sequences optimized for Republic targeting systems. They won't know what hit them. Walker took a deep breath. All ships, execute attack pattern Omega. Full combat transformation. 20 ships emerged from Mars' shadow, but they didn't emerge as they had entered. Each vessel flowed and shifted, weapons appearing where none had existed, shields rippling with power that shouldn't have been possible. Before the Republic fleet could react, Earth's ships had already changed configuration 3 times, each transformation bringing new weapons to bear. The battle that followed would be studied for centuries to come. The Republic's ships were powerful, their technology refined over thousands of years. But they were static, unchanging, their crews trained to fight in exactly the same way that had brought them victory for millennia. They weren't prepared for ships that could adapt mid-battle, for vessels that could split apart and reform, for weapons that could shift position faster than their targeting systems could track. Their formations are breaking, Walker's tactical officer reported with barely contained excitement. They can't maintain their attack patterns against our transformations. Through his tactical display, Walker watched as the Republic fleet tried to adjust. When they concentrated their fire on one Earth ship, it would transform, splitting into smaller components that their targeting couldn't track. When they tried to surround an Earth vessel, it would reconfigure into a form their tactics hadn't accounted for. Guardian 3 is taking heavy fire, came a report. Walker watched as the ship in question seemed to dissolve, its structure flowing like water as it reformed into 3 smaller vessels that darted between the Republic ships, their weapons finding weak points in the ancient shields. 2 Republic cruisers fell to the unexpected attack. They're trying to retreat, someone reported. Half their fleet is already destroyed or disabled. Walker opened a channel to the Republic flagship. You came here expecting to find a weak species ready for conquest. Instead, you found out what happens when you force humanity to innovate. Your restrictions didn't weaken us. They made us stronger than you could imagine. The Republic fleet was in full retreat now, their perfect formations shattered. Their ancient tactics proved useless against humanity's adaptability. Of the 100 ships that had arrived, barely 40 were limping back to faster-than-light speed. Earth's 20 ships reformed into their standard configurations, their hulls bearing scars but their crews triumphant. "Send a message to the Galactic Council," Walker ordered. "Tell them humanity is ready to discuss new terms for our membership. And this time, we'll be doing the talking." As the adrenaline of battle faded, Walker looked at the tactical display showing their victory. The Council had tried to weaken them, to make them easy prey for conquest. Instead, they had forced humanity to become something new, a power that could adapt faster than any static force could handle. The galaxy would never be the same. The truth came from an unexpected source. 1 year after the pirate attack, a council observer named Trell requested a private meeting with Admiral Stone. Captain Walker and Dr. Thompson were present when the small, gray-skinned alien arrived at the underground facility on Mars, his usual pristine uniform wrinkled from nervous fidgeting. "I can't stay long," Trell said, his translator struggling to keep up with his rapid speech. "If they discover I'm here, but you need to know. The restrictions on Earth weren't about peace. They were never about peace." Walker watched as the alien pulled out a data crystal, his hands shaking. "What do you mean?" "The Republic of Stars. They've been doing this for thousands of years. Find promising species, label them as too aggressive, force them to weaken themselves. Then, when the species has lost its ability to defend itself..." Trell's large eyes darted around the room. "They take everything. Resources, territories, people. They call it integration, but it's conquest." Maria took the data crystal, already moving to a secure terminal. "How many species?" 17 in the last millennium alone. All now member states of the Republic, all providing resources and labor to feed the Republic's expansion. Trell's voice grew quieter. "Earth is next. The Council votes tomorrow on a resolution for complete integration of human territories. They're sending their fleet, 100 ships, maybe more." Walker felt his blood run cold. "When?" 3 days. They think you're defenseless now. They've seen your reports, your weak response to the pirate attack. They believe." Trell stopped, finally noticing his surroundings properly for the first time. The underground facility, the ships being worked on, the advanced technology scattered around the lab. "What is all this?" Admiral Stone smiled grimly. "Insurance against exactly this situation." The alien's eyes widened as understanding dawned. The pirate attack. Those ships that drove them off. They weren't just civilian vessels, were they? "No," Walker said. "They weren't." Maria's voice cut through the tension. "The data is genuine. Complete technical specifications of the Republic's fleet. Their attack plans. Everything." She looked up from her terminal. "They're not just coming to take our resources. They want our people for their labor camps. They think we'll be good workers once we're properly pacified." Walker turned to Admiral Stone. "How many ships do we have ready?" 15. "All with the latest adaptive systems. We can have 5 more ready in 48 hours if we push it. 20 ships against 100. Trell's translator couldn't quite convey his tone, but his body language showed clear disbelief. Maria smiled. 20 ships that can change faster than they can target. 20 ships with shield technology we've improved beyond their original designs. 20 ships with crews who've been training for this moment for a year." She paused, looking at her screens again. "And now we have their complete technical specifications." The next 48 hours were a blur of activity. The Council's observers, except for Trell, were politely detained in their quarters under the guise of a routine security exercise. Earth's adaptive fleet gathered in the shadow of Mars, using the planet's magnetic field to mask their energy signatures. Maria's team worked nonstop, incorporating the new tactical data into their combat systems. Walker stood on the bridge of his ship, now designated as Guardian 1, as they made final preparations. The formerly smooth hull now rippled constantly, micro-adjustments happening every second as the AI systems ran combat simulations using the Republic's data. "All ships report ready," his tactical officer announced. "Adaptive systems at peak efficiency." "The Republic fleet has entered the solar system," another officer reported. "They're not trying to hide their approach. They expect no resistance." Walker opened a channel to the entire fleet. "This is exactly what we've trained for. They think they're here to enslave a weak species that can't defend itself. Let's show them how wrong they are." The Republic fleet emerged from faster-than-light travel in perfect attack formation. 100 ships, their ancient hulls gleaming with power, arranged in the same patterns they used to subjugate species for thousands of years. Their commander's voice boomed across all frequencies. "People of Earth, by order of the Galactic Council, your territories are now under direct Republic control. Surrender your remaining ships and prepare for integration." Walker signaled Maria, who was coordinating the fleet's adaptive systems from her command center on Mars. "Ready?" The response was instantaneous. Both Earth ships seemed to explode into motion, their hulls flowing like liquid metal as hidden weapons emerge. The pirate ship closest to them tried to back away, but it was too late. Before its crew could react, they found themselves facing two fully armed warships where civilian transports had been moments before. "What the hell?" The pirates' shock came clearly through the comm channel. Walker didn't waste time responding. "All weapons, fire." The battle that followed was short but intense. The pirate ships were more advanced than Earth's old fleet had been, but they weren't prepared for vessels that could reconfigure themselves mid-battle. When they adjusted their shields to block energy weapons, the Earth ships transformed to use projectile attacks. When they tried to target weapon systems, those systems simply relocated to different parts of the hull. 3 pirate ships were destroyed in the first exchange of fire. The 4th tried to run, but was caught in a crossfire when Long Haul 9 transformed into a pursuit configuration, its entire structure streamlining for speed. The 5th and 6th ships attempted to use the colony as a shield, but that proved to be their final mistake. Walker's ship transformed again, splitting its structure in a way that should have been impossible for a vessel its size. The pirates found themselves caught between 2 half-ships, each operating independently, but in perfect coordination. Their shields failed under the assault, and their weapons couldn't track targets that kept changing shape and position. "Please," the pirate leader's voice had lost all its earlier confidence. "We surrender. We didn't know this was a protected colony." "You knew there were innocent people here," Walker replied. "You just thought no one could stop you." He opened a channel to the colony. "New Hope, are you receiving?" "We're here, Captain." The colony leader's voice was shaking with relief. "We saw everything." "How? What kind of ships are those?" "Just some old civilian transports," Walker said, unable to keep a small smile from his face. "The Council was kind enough to let us keep them." The cleanup took several hours. The surviving pirates were taken into custody, their ships secured for study. Walker made sure the colony's defenses were repaired, using parts that just happened to be in their cargo holds. Parts that would let the colony mask its true defensive capabilities, just as the Earth ships did. It was only when they were heading home that Walker allowed himself to relax slightly. They had just won their first real battle with the adaptive ships, against enemies using technology that should have been beyond them. The Council's restrictions, meant to keep humanity weak, had forced them to become something new. "Incoming message from Earth," his communications officer reported. "The Council representatives are demanding a full report on the pirate incident." "Send them the official log," Walker ordered. 2 civilian support ships responded to a distress call. Found the colony under attack. The pirates fled when we arrived. No significant combat occurred. And the destroyed pirate ships must have destroyed each other in their hurry to escape. Criminals can be so untrustworthy. The council would believe it because they wanted to believe it. They would see what they expected. A weak species dependent on their protection, unable to defend even their own colonies effectively. They would never suspect that their efforts to restrict humanity had led to the creation of something far more dangerous than the fleet they had forced Earth to dismantle. As they approached Mars, Walker looked at the stream of data from the battle. Every transformation, every adaptation, had been recorded and analyzed. The next generation of ships would be even better, incorporating lessons learned from actual combat. The Council thought they were watching humanity gradually accepting its place as a minor power. They were wrong. They were watching humanity become something unprecedented in the galaxy, a power that could adapt faster than anyone could predict. The pirates had learned that lesson today. The Council would learn it too, when the time was right. The distress call came from New Hope Colony, Earth's farthest outpost. Captain Walker was in the Mars facility when the message arrived. Its content brief but chilling. Under attack. Multiple hostile ships. Council not responding. Please help. Admiral Stone's face was grim on the emergency comm channel. The Council is deliberating on how to respond. Their nearest patrol ship is 3 days away. They've advised the colony to surrender to the pirates and wait for diplomatic solutions. Walker's hands clenched into fists. New Hope was home to 5,000 civilians. Engineers, armors, families who had gone to build a new life on the edge of human space. How many ships do the pirates have? Long-range scans show 6 vessels, heavily armed. Old Republic designs, probably stolen. They're not Council ships, but they're more advanced than anything Earth had before. Stone paused, a slight smile crossing his face. Before our recent innovations, how many ships can we send without attracting Council attention? 2. We're allowed emergency response vessels for our colonies. I'm giving you command of Long Haul 7 and 9. Officially, you're bringing medical supplies and evacuation ships. Walker was already moving, heading for the docking bay where their most advanced ships waited. And unofficially, Captain, show them what humanity's weakened fleet can do. The 2 ships launched within the hour. To any observer, they looked like exactly what their registration claimed. Civilian support vessels on a humanitarian mission. The Council's patrol ships logged their departure and went back to their routine monitoring. No one paid attention to the small crew numbers or the unusual power readings that were quickly masked by the ship's adaptive systems. New Hope Colony, this is Captain Walker of the Earth Defense Force. Help is coming. Hold on. The response was broken, filled with static. They've taken out our main communications array. They're demanding we surrender the colony's resources, our people, everything. Just hold on. We're 6 hours out. Those 6 hours were the longest of Walker's life. Both ships pushed their engines to the limit, while the crews ran combat drills with the adaptive systems. They had trained for this, but training was different from actual combat. Everything would depend on timing, on perfect coordination between the crews and their ship's AI systems. They dropped out of faster-than-light travel just outside the colony system. The pirate ships were easy to spot. 6 vessels arranged in an attack formation around the colony. Their weapons were powered up, but they weren't firing. They were waiting for the colony's surrender. They haven't spotted us yet, Walker's tactical officer reported. Their sensors are focused on the colony. Walker opened a channel to Long Haul 9. Remember, wait for my signal. Let them think we're harmless until we're in position. Both Earth ships approached openly, broadcasting civilian identification codes. Walker watched as the pirate ships adjusted their positions slightly, probably preparing to demand that the newcomers leave or surrender. This is restricted space, a rough voice came over the comm. Turn back or be destroyed. Walker signaled his communications officer to respond. This is a medical transport responding to an emergency call. We have wounded to evacuate. Perfect timing, the pirate replied with a laugh. You can help us load our new slaves. Prepare to be boarded. The nearest pirate ship began moving toward them. Walker watched the distance counter tick down. They needed the enemy close enough that they couldn't react in time, but not so close that they'd be caught in their own transformation energy wake. Now, Walker ordered when the distance hit optimal range. Full combat transformation. All weapons free. Transformation complete, the AI announced. Shield strength at 120% of Council baseline specifications. Maria's voice came over the comm from the engineering section. We're not just matching their shield technology, we're exceeding it. The adaptive power distribution system is more efficient than their original design. They spent the next 4 hours putting the ship through its paces. The shield strength actually increased during rapid transformations, as the adaptive systems learned to channel the energy flows more efficiently. The weapons, hidden within the civilian configuration, deployed faster than any traditional system could match. Run the numbers again, Walker ordered after their final test. How does this ship compare to a Council vessel of similar size? The AI took a moment to calculate. Based on observed Council ship performance data, our shield strength is superior, our weapon systems are comparable, and our ability to adapt during combat gives us a significant tactical advantage. In a one-on-one engagement, this ship would have a 70% chance of victory against a standard Council warship. Maria's laugh echoed through the comm. And they think they're helping us by sharing their basic technology. How soon can we upgrade the rest of the fleet? Stone asked from his observer position in a nearby shuttle. Now that we know it works. 2 weeks per ship, running parallel installations. We can have the entire permitted fleet upgraded within 2 months. Walker watched as the ship transformed back into its civilian configuration, all traces of its military capability vanishing like they had never existed. On the surface, Earth's space fleet was exactly what the Council wanted. Small, weak, and unthreatening. But every ship they had allowed humanity to keep was becoming something new, something that combined Earth's innovation with the Council's own technology. We should thank them. Really, Walker said, more to himself than anyone else. They thought limiting our fleet would keep us weak. Instead, they forced us to make every ship count. The return journey to the Mars facility was quiet. Everyone lost in their own thoughts. They were building something unprecedented. A fleet that could transform from harmless civilian vessels into advanced warships in moments. Every restriction the Council placed on them had only pushed them to become more innovative, more efficient. The Council's observers continued their weekly inspections, writing their reports about humanity's successful pacification. They never noticed that the ships they were inspecting could transform into something far more dangerous than anything humanity had possessed before their arrival. They never realized that their own technology was being adapted and improved in ways they hadn't thought possible. As Walker watched Long Haul 7 dock in the Mars facility, he thought about the future. Somewhere out there, the Council was probably congratulating themselves on successfully containing another aggressive species. But they had made a fundamental mistake. They had assumed that making humanity's fleet smaller would make humanity itself weaker. They would learn their mistake eventually. And when they did, they would discover that they hadn't weakened humanity. They had forced them to become stronger than ever before. 6 months into the Council's oversight, Earth's space looked empty. Where once hundreds of military vessels had patrolled, now only a handful of ships remained. The Council observers wrote glowing reports about humanity's compliance. Their weekly inspections found exactly what they expected to find. A weakened species accepting its place in the galactic order. They never bothered to look deeper into the caves of Mars. Deep within the Red Planet's extensive cave networks, Captain Walker watched as Dr. Thompson's team installed the latest version of the adaptive architecture into their 5th ship. The vessel, officially registered as a cargo hauler, hung suspended in the massive underground dock. Its hull rippled like water as the new systems came online. The reaction time is twice as fast now, Maria said, not looking up from her tablet. Dark circles under her eyes betrayed the long hours she'd been working, but her voice was energetic. And we've solved the power drain issue from the quick-shift systems. Walker nodded, watching as sections of the hull flowed and reformed. How many crew members to operate at full capacity? That's the best part. Now Maria did look up, a proud smile on her face. We've integrated a new AI system. One person could fly it if needed, though a crew of 3 would be optimal. The AI handles most of the transformation calculations and power distribution. Their conversation was interrupted by the arrival of Admiral Stone. The older man looked more relaxed these days, now that their secret project was showing real results. "The Council's feeding us some interesting information," he said without preamble. "They're starting to share their approved technology database with us." Maria's eyes lit up. "Anything useful?" "Better than useful." Stone activated a holographic display, showing complex technical specifications. "They're so convinced of our compliance that they've given us access to their basic shield designs. Apparently, it's a reward for our good behavior." Walker couldn't help but laugh. "They're giving us the tools to beat them. They don't think we're capable of understanding it properly, let alone improving it," Maria said, already scanning through the specifications. "These designs, yes, I can work with this. The power distribution system they use is actually quite similar to what we developed for the adaptive ships. We could integrate their shield technology with our transformation systems." "How long?" Stone asked. 2 weeks, maybe less. We'll install it in the next ship first, use it as a test bed." She was already making notes, her fingers flying over her tablet. "If it works, we can retrofit the other ships quickly." Walker studied the holographic display. "The Council really has no idea what we're doing, do they?" "They see what they expect to see," Stone said. "Their civilization is old. They'd forgotten what it's like to have to fight for survival, to innovate under pressure. They think they're watching us slowly accept our place as a minor species under their protection." The next 2 weeks were a blur of activity. Maria's team worked around the clock, integrating the Council's shield technology with their adaptive systems. Walker spent his time running simulations, learning how to fight with a ship that could transform at will. The Council's observers continued their regular inspections, never noticing the increased traffic to Mars, disguised as routine supply runs. The test day came sooner than expected. Walker stood on the bridge of the test ship, designated as Long Haul 7 in official records, as they prepared for the first full system trial. They had moved to the far side of Mars, using the planet's bulk to hide them from casual observation. "All systems online," the ship's AI reported. Its voice was smooth, confident, ready for transformation sequence. Walker took a deep breath. "Begin full combat transformation. Integrate shield systems." The change began instantly. The hull flowed like quicksilver, weapon ports emerging, the entire structure reconfiguring for maximum combat efficiency. But this time, something new happened. As the transformation completed, a shimmer of energy enveloped the ship, the Council's shield technology, perfectly integrated with their adaptive systems. Walker studied the simulation again. The ship had transformed from a destroyer configuration into something that looked almost like a civilian transport, then back again. "How many people know about this?" "Just Admiral Stone, you, me, and my core team. We're keeping it quiet, even from most of the Earth Defense Force. The fewer people who know, the less chance of the Council finding out." Walker nodded. "How can I help?" Maria's smile widened. "I need someone to command the first test ship. Someone who can think creatively about how to use this technology in real combat situations. The Admiral suggested you." For the first time since the Council arrived, Walker felt the weight on his shoulders lighten slightly. They weren't beaten. Not yet. Over the next few weeks, Walker split his time between supervising the fleet's dismantling above ground and working with Maria's team below. The Council's observers never questioned his frequent visits to the civilian research facility. Why would they? From their perspective, humanity was doing exactly what they demanded, weakening themselves to become acceptable members of the galactic community. The first prototype was ready for testing a month later. They ran the trials in the asteroid belt, far from the Council's usual patrol routes. Walker stood on the bridge of the ship, officially designated as a mining support vessel, and gave the order. Initiate adaptive sequence. The ship shuddered. Through the viewport, Walker watched in amazement as the hull flowed like quicksilver. Weapon ports emerged where there had been none. The ship's entire profile changed, becoming sleeker, more predatory. When the transformation was complete, his mining support vessel had become a warship more advanced than anything Earth had possessed before the Council arrived. Transformation complete, the ship's AI reported. All systems functional. New configuration stable. Walker touched the newly formed tactical console. How long to return to civilian configuration? 30 seconds in emergency conditions, 15 seconds with full power available. He smiled. The Council thought they were watching Earth destroy its capacity for war. Instead, they were watching the birth of something new. Every ship they allowed Earth to keep would be replaced with one of these adaptive vessels. Their small fleet wouldn't just be for show. It would be the most advanced naval force humanity had ever created. Begin return sequence, he ordered. Let's get back before we're missed. As the ship transformed back into its civilian disguise, Walker thought about the Council speaker's words. Your species is too aggressive for full membership. They had meant it as a criticism, a reason to keep humanity down. But they had forgotten something important about humans. They were at their most innovative, their most determined, when someone told them they couldn't do something. The Council had tried to weaken them. Instead, they had forced humanity to become stronger than ever before. And one day, when the time was right, the galaxy would learn just how big a mistake they had made. Walker sent the test data to Maria's lab and ordered the ship to return to Earth. Above him, the stars seemed to shine a little brighter, like they knew a secret. Humanity wasn't finished. They were just getting started. The message arrived on a quiet Tuesday morning. Captain James Walker stood at the window of Earth Defense Force headquarters, watching the sunrise paint the sky in shades of orange and pink. The coffee in his hand had gone cold, forgotten the moment the first alien transmission cut through Earth's communications channels. We are the Galactic Council, the message had said. Your species has been observed. Prepare for contact. Now, 3 months later, Walker wished they had never answered that call. He watched as another Earth battleship was torn apart, not by enemy weapons, but by its own crew under the Council's orders. The massive vessel, once a pride of humanity's fleet, split into chunks of useless metal under the watchful eyes of the Council's overseer ships. That's the fourth one today, Admiral Stone said, walking up beside him. The older man's face looked worn, deep lines etched around his eyes from sleepless nights. They're making us destroy our own ships while they watch, like parents making sure their children do their chores. Walker's jaw tightened. Parents don't usually threaten to obliterate their children if they disobey. The Council had arrived with ships that made Earth's finest vessels look like toys. Their massive fleet had simply appeared one day, using technology that humanity couldn't even begin to understand. But they hadn't come to destroy Earth. No, they had come with something far more humiliating in mind. Your species, the Council speaker had declared in that first meeting, is too aggressive for full membership in the galactic community. Your rapid military expansion into space shows dangerous tendencies that must be curtailed. The terms were simple. Earth would destroy 90% of its space fleet, leaving only a basic defensive force. They would accept Council oversight of all military activities. They would limit their expansion to approved colonies only. In return, they would receive observer status in the Galactic Council and limited access to some approved technologies. The alternative was complete isolation from all spacefaring races, with Council ships ensuring Earth remained trapped in its solar system. Dr. Thompson wants to see you, Admiral Stone said, breaking into Walker's thoughts. She's in the underground lab. Walker nodded, grateful for any excuse to stop watching the destruction of humanity's fleet. The underground facilities had become his refuge lately, where he could at least feel like he was doing something besides overseeing surrender. The elevator ride down was silent, each floor adding more weight to the tons of rock and metal between him and the sight of Earth's humiliation above. Dr. Maria Thompson was waiting for him in her lab, her usual neat appearance slightly disheveled, suggesting she'd been working through the night again. "Captain," she said, not looking up from her screens, "what do you know about adaptive architecture?" "That's construction technology, isn't it? Buildings that can change shape." "On the most basic level, yes." She finally turned to face him, her eyes bright with that look he'd learned to recognize, the look of someone who had found a way to fight back. "But what if we applied the same principle to ships?" She pulled up a simulation on the main screen. It showed a standard Earth destroyer, but as Walker watched, the ship's structure began to shift and flow like liquid metal, weapon systems reconfiguring, shield generators relocating, the entire hull transforming in response to simulated attacks. "They told us we can only have a small fleet," Maria said, a slight smile playing on her lips. "They never said anything about the quality of those ships." Walker leaned closer to the screen, hope stirring for the first time in months. "How long until we could implement something like this?" "That's the beauty of it. We've been working on similar technology for climate-adaptive buildings for years. We just never thought to apply it to ships because our traditional designs worked fine. But now," she shrugged, "when you're backed into a corner, you start seeing new applications for old ideas. The Council's observers won't understand what they're looking at," Maria finished. "We'll present it as a civilian construction technology we're adapting for emergency repairs. Nothing military about that."